Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. We've got Gwen from Broke Cowgirl is here, Jesse from Lazy Days Ahead, and Lisa. Hello. We've got Craig Tim, Van City Prepper. Hello, hello. And I'm just going to take a look at the chat real quick. Hey, Denise, Green Granny 2. Welcome in. Welcome in. Well, we are going to jump right into it. I know the notification is going to go out, but we have a special guest this evening, and she has a family. So at any point, she may have to leave. You know how that is when you have young children. We've all been there or are there, so we get it. So we're just going to jump right in and bring her up. So everybody, I want to welcome all of you, and I'd like you to give a warm welcome to Moriah at the Grain Bin Coop on Instagram. And I did put her her link to her Instagram account in the description box. And I also pinned it to the top of the chat. And Lisa Colovi is going to be a few minutes late, so she'll be in there. But here is Moriah. Hello.
Hi.
How are you today?
Oh, doing great. How are you guys?
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're doing great. Thank you so much for being here. And I know you're busy. You're a busy lady, and I appreciate you taking the time to come tonight. And
pleasure.
And so I see that there's some folks in the chat here. Craig, yep, we got a few drops for about 5 seconds. Someone's asked me if it rained here.
Merritt is my mom.
Hi, Merritt. Welcome in. Welcome in. So we're going to just jump right into it, like I said, because I know time is precious. And I mean, let me tell you, you've got a bunch of kids, so I'm giving you credit for all the stuff you get done.
Yeah.
You do it gracefully.
Thank you. It's quick. You got to just be quick.
I'm always in awe of you carrying around your daughter, who's an infant, in the seat. And the seat has got to make life so much easier because you can at least put her down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gets tough though. You don't want to set her down. She has to be last, especially for milking in the morning. I got to leave her and then feed everybody so everyone's not walking around her. I don't want anything to happen. There's always a shuffle in the morning when you're feeding everybody. And so she's always last, but she always gets there, sitting next to me.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And Jade from Woodlot on Pots is here. Hello. And hey, Garden State Gardener, Wicked Awesome Gardening is here. And Pathways Homestead is here. Welcome in, welcome in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what state you're in and, what kind of animals you have on your farm?
Okay, so I live in North Dakota, very north, the very middle and the very top. I'm very close to Canada, about 10 or 12 miles. I live on a 30-acre farm, and I have chickens, I have some geese, I have a couple turkeys, some ducks, sheep, a couple pigs. I've got a couple milk cows. Randy, my significant other, he has quite a few beef breed cows. See what else? I've got some livestock guardian dogs. I've got a couple house dogs, a couple cats, and 4 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you are a busy lady.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what got you into this whole, did you grow up in farming life, or is it something you went to later in life?
Actually, I didn't grow up on a farm. I spent some of my childhood in Southern California, where there's obviously no farms there. And then we moved up to North Dakota, a small town, just about 40 minutes away from where I live now. I'm in a town. I moved into a town of 110 people, very small, with my grandparents. And my grandpa and grandma had a huge garden. I mean, a giant garden, spotless garden. I mean, they were retired, so they had all the time in the world to weed and, just make it just flawless. So that's kind of where I think I got my passion for gardening. Is that, thinking back, I never did help in the garden or anything, But I did watch them do it every day together. They'd both weed, in separate parts of the garden and stuff. So I think that's where I kind of took it on. And so yeah, I learned to garden through them. I always call my grandpa whenever I have questions, things that aren't working right, things with our zone, and see what he's gone through, so that's kind of how I started gardening.
That's awesome.
It's been really fun. And right now my garden is a little overgrown with weeds, but I'm pretty busy, so it's kind of taken the back burner for a little while.
Yeah, mine is too, and I don't have the excuses you have. What zone are you in?
I'm in 3. I think
Okay.
3, yeah.
Okay. I'm in 4B. I'm actually where I am. We're like at the intersection of several zones, but 4B is right where we are. One of the things that I loved about your account is you're in North Dakota, because I'm in South Dakota, and it's harder to find folks who are public about their lives in North and South Dakota. At least I've had trouble finding. Like I find businesses, but I don't find a lot of YouTubers or Instagrammers, and I was just thrilled to find you, because it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm looking at the snow and I'm like, she gets it. She gets it.
50 below today with a 30-mile-an-hour wind chill. No big deal. Let's just go out and feed the animals.
Yeah. I got my baby. We're good to go, right?
Yeah, right.
I know it. I know it. Hey, Colleen, welcome in. Jade at Woodlot on Pots, who's from Instagram, she said, I think Moriah is a superwoman as I watch her rock her farm life on Instagram.
Thanks.
I just want to go to the chat real quick, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Oh, you're welcome, Lazy Days Ahead. I told you I was going to do that for you. Hey, Dark Lord Minette, welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, talk a little bit about the kind of weather that you get up there where you are.
Depending on the season, depending on the year, of course. This year, let's start with the winter. This most recent winter, we had a ton of snow. I mean, I couldn't do anything. We couldn't leave. We couldn't, feed anybody until we moved snow. I mean, we just got pounded with snow repeatedly. The cold temperatures of our climate in the winter are just... Some people in the South that follow me on Instagram, they're just like negative, it'd say sometimes -40, but then it's they don't really realize though that on top of the temperature there is wind, which makes it even colder. I mean, where your skin hurts, it feels like your face is bleeding.
Yep.
So it was cold this winter, really cold, lots of snow. I was pregnant. It was a really long winter. Spring, so when you have a lot of snow in the winter, in the spring, it all melts, obviously. And then on winters with heavy snow, you have a really wet summer, or a really wet spring. That's what we went through this year. We went through a lot of water in our basement. The water just didn't really have anywhere to go. Then it comes to summertime. Spring is actually somewhat enjoyable unless you have dogs, where then your whole house is like covered in mud,
Yeah.
And then summer, we're in summer right now. It's gets pretty extreme in the temperatures in the summer as well. Really hot, really dry some years, very humid a lot of the days, which today is really humid. You just walk outside and you're just sticky.
Wow.
But the joy of the summer in North Dakota is we are a long day. I mean, it's light from 4:30 in the morning until, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, which makes it hard to get up early and do chores because, I can't go to bed till I close my chickens. They're all still gallivanting around the yard at 10:30. I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed, but so that's the trouble there. It's long days, beautiful sunsets. We live in a really flat land. There's no mountains. I mean, you can see for miles. And then fall, beautiful time of year. Some years fall can be cut short with a big winter storm. Some years the fall lasts a really long time. We had a really long fall this past one. I mean, we didn't get snow until like a significant snow that stuck really until like early December, which it's usually snowing on Halloween around here. So it just depends on the year. We do have a strong 4-season climate. I mean, you can tell when, each season has changed,
Hmm.
which is nice. They call it the Four Seasons Playground. So really nice
Interesting.
here. Yeah.
I really think your weather is more extreme than ours is. And yeah, I do, because I remember when I found your account, which was a few months ago, I remember you getting a ton of snow in the spring. And I think you mentioned another account. Was it Bluestone Ranch?
Yep. She's
And
just about 60 miles away from me. Yep.
I remembered like watching your accounts, and I was like, oh my gosh, they got more snow than we did.
Yes.
Because we can get it mid-September. We just don't get the humidity. Like, it was 92 yesterday. We had 27% humidity. Yeah, 27% humidity. So it's really, really low most of the days. Whereas, like, if you're in Texas, you have a lot higher humidity.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. So that's wild. And then you had flooding. You had flooding from all the rain, just because the ground was frozen, or
Well, just with the amount of snow, and then, it just, as it melts, it doesn't, after it saturates the ground and the frost is gone, it didn't really have anywhere else to go. Um,
yeah.
we live right by a creek, so that also contributes to our flooding basement. Yeah, it just doesn't have anywhere to go. We have a really high water table. And, it's a joy to have a creek in the back. I mean, it's really beautiful. And I go to get my cow in the spring, and the creek is flowing. And we went swimming back there. That's really fun for the kids. But the basement, I mean, it's just a pain, to be stuck in. We have 4 sump holes. And I mean, even that, it just couldn't keep
Wow.
up. Yeah, it's. So on the
Wow.
wet years, it's tough. But
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
but it's good for
Exactly.
the crops. It's good for the hay. So like, I'm just gonna suck it up.
I know. I was just telling Moriah before we went live that our front lawn is already burnt and dying, and it's just it's frustrating. You know what I mean? Because I've even been out there to water it, and not water it because I'm worried about how my lawn looks. Water it because I'm trying to keep it growing for my pigs,
Yeah.
because I've got my 2 girls that are due soon. So uh, waiting on the piglets. Hey, Little Ridge, welcome in. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny because South Dakota has, that's where we're opposite too, because South Dakota actually has water issues. We usually have so it was funny because I had to have Ryan explain it to me the other night. When you're in town, closer to town, you're more likely to get water. But when you get outside of town, even the rural towns, when you get further outside, you can drill down, hit some water, and then when they keep drilling, you go through the other side of it. It's like a limestone pocket, and then you lose all the water. So a lot of places have cisterns, they have to haul water in, and that's just crazy.
Hauling water is a pain.
Yeah.
You really notice how much you go through when you gotta haul it around.
It's so true, because that's exactly what I've said on my videos, because in the summer we haul water, just to give the well a break, because we use so much of it between pig pools, gardens, hosing pigs down and all that kind of stuff. You just go through a ton of water. When it's in the house, you don't realize how much you're using. When you have
Yeah.
a tank and you watch that tank go down in one day,
Yeah.
you realize how much water you're using.
Oh, definitely. That's how I used to water my garden. He bought this, gas powered pump, and we pumped water out of the creek a couple summers ago, and we filled this tank. We don't really realize, I mean, I would probably use 80 gallons to water my garden a day. And I'd tell him after a few days, I'm like, the tank is empty. And he'd be like, because he'd have to back up this other smaller tank and go to, that's when you really, I mean, but that creek water is really good for the garden. It's just got all that good stuff in there.
Yeah, and you're lucky to have access to the creek. That's wonderful. We go to town, and we have to purchase it, but it's still very cheap if I
Yeah,
did
a couple
something to my
bucks or
well.
something.
Yeah, I think they did it to like 50 cents for 30 gallons or something like that. But anyway, we fill it up, and he has we've done it easy, smarter, not harder. We have the tank on the truck, and it's a truck we don't use all the time. It's the one we haul feed with. So it's great. So we drive to town, it's already strapped in, and then he has a hose, and we just slap the hose into the other tank and transfer it.
Yeah.
So it works really good. But yeah, it's just hauling water is just brutal. That's another reason why we're staying on our 2 acres right now, because between the price of land and everything, and then to go that far out and not have water.
Yeah, that and the price of drilling a well nowadays, I don't even want to estimate. I mean, I would love to have a well. It would be, I mean, my winters, I could just relax and knit.
Yeah.
And no, I'm like out there, you know, with my heat gun or my torch trying to unthaw everything between stops. Oh, it would be lovely to have a well, but the price is just, I'll just suck it up for now again.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it. I know it. I had a friend of mine who's in Texas, and when they had their couple of episodes of like a polar vortex come through, they're not prepared for that. So one of the things they did was get these expandable hoses that they brought in the house every night. Well, let me tell you, that was life changing for me.
Really?
I got a muck bucket and I got a heavy duty expandable hose. So that way it goes, I grab my bucket. As long as the spigot isn't frozen, I'm good to go. I can reach the pigs and I can fill trots. And I'm like, this is like score.
Oh, man, then you got to drain the hose. And if you don't drain the hose,
Yep.
or if it doesn't, sometimes when it was 25, 30 below, I would drain the hose. But because it was so cold, as I was draining it, it was freezing down the line. So then I'd come the next day and I'm like, I drained the hose. I'd have to haul the whole thing in the house, through my entryway, through my house, grass, snow, everything melting on the way to the shower, turning on hot. It was just, it's
yeah. Well, that's what I loved about, the having the muck bucket for it, because I drain it and put it in there. But it's funny because a bunch of folks who have, lived here had said to me, they're like, and minus 30, those hoses going to blow. I was like, all right, well, I won't use it in minus 30.
Yeah.
But if I can get through the winter with it, I'll be good.
Yes.
I'm just going to go to the chat real quick. Hey, Hoopers Mayhem, Aussie Outdoor Adventures. Welcome in. Hey, Mr. Blue Collar Homestead. Yeah, we're patiently waiting for the upcoming real estate crash also. It hasn't happened yet.
We're lucky though. I mean, the real estate around here is very cheap compared to if you try to buy a farm, somewhere else. So
really?
I think so. I thought we got a really great deal on this farm. A few farms have come up since that have been a great price that Randy was like, oh man, maybe we should have waited, And...
Yeah. I'm in a tourist town, so it's crazy. It's crazy. So why don't you tell us a little bit, because I know that you post a lot on Instagram, and I was telling you earlier that I feel your stories on Instagram when you post putting your cream in there, and I'm usually having my coffee with my commercial half and half, so it's pretty pathetic. But I watch Moriah put her cream in her coffee, and I'm just sitting there drooling because it looks to die for. You want to talk a little bit about how you feel about raw milk?
Okay, I love raw milk. I feel like if you have not tried raw milk, you need to try and find somebody that has a backyard cow. Maybe there's a local dairy. You gotta try it. What I do is, I milk in the mornings, I strain it out. And depending on how many people I'm selling milk shares to that day, my herd share customers, I will let the fresh, warm milk that's been strained, is nice and clean. It will cool down. Well, what happens with raw milk is the cream or the butter fats in the milk will rise to the top and the milk will fall to the bottom. So there will be a clear separation between the cream and the milk. Now you go and you skim the cream off. You can use a turkey baster. You can use a ladle. You can pour it out. And you put that into a separate container. Now, if you let that separate container of cream sit, more milk will fall down to the bottom and you'll be left with a really nice, thick cream. It's golden. It's so velvety. And if you let it sit long enough in your fridge, it will just become like a dollop of thick whipped cream, and you just plop it in your coffee and you stir it up, and it's just the most amazing cup of coffee. And I was getting low when I was drying up my one cow, waiting for my other cow to have her calf. Just a second.
Of course, of course. Oh, no worries, Nick. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you. Let's see here.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead. You said it sits there nice and thick and
Oh yeah, and then it gets really velvety. It's really yellow. It's where a lot of the vitamins and the minerals are in the milk or in the butter fat. And I guess I tried to buy store-bought once when I was running low, and I had to pour my coffee out. I mean, it's just not the same. It almost tasted like chemicals. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about the raw milk versus the store pasteurized cream. It's just not the same, and it's not as good for you. I just say people should try to find some. There's a website called realmilk.com. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on here.
You can. What is it? Because I'll post it in the chat.
Realmilk.com. You can go on there and you can look for real milk near you. You can put in your state, and then it brings up in your state the other folks that have, like, say, a backyard cow like me. I'm on there if you look in North Dakota. Some people have dairy goats, and they're all people that sell the herd shares, cow shares, milk shares, whatever you want to call it. And it's either, they have a drop-off location weekly, maybe a couple times a week, or you could pick up on farm. I'm an on-farm retail. That's what I have mine listed as. People come and pick up from me every single day. I have a different family come and get their milk.
Nice.
Yes, some people get 6 gallons. I have a few families that get 2 gallons. I have someone that gets 5 gallons. There's the lady that gets 6. She solely uses it to make cheese.
Wow.
Because you can't really you can make cheese with pasteurized milk, but it's a lot better if you use raw milk. It's got all that good bacteria in there, which you need, for when you're making cheese. So yeah, raw milk, and my morning chore, if you want to call it, it's my favorite chore. It's really brought so much joy to my life. Like, I love doing it. I've bonded with my 2 milk cows. I've trained them from being heifers, like never being touched on their udder, their teats, nothing. I've trained them, and now they're just like special spoiled cows, as Randy wants to call it.
They are, because you go out and call them and they come running over to you.
Yeah, they do. They and a milk cow knows, like, that's a relief. Just like a breastfeeding mom, it's a relief. You could come morning time, the bag is full, and it's a relief to get it emptied out. Some cows I've seen even some places in other countries, they have an automatic milker, and the cows will come to get milked a couple times a day because it is such a relief to be milked. And I, it's controversial. Some people think, some of the activists, they don't think that it's good for us. But my cow, I really believe she enjoys it. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, everybody's like, raw milk, this is awesome. And Moriah was so wonderful to help tell me about that website and help me find somebody who's actually about an hour south of me, and they actually make drops in my town. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to check that out. It's goat milk. I really want to get, dairy cow's milk, but I definitely, it would be really cool. Because I was saying I had made butter with the goat's milk, and it was really good with the cream.
Oh, so yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. But I want to have that cream for my coffee. I'm sorry. I'm fixated on it. My husband worked on farms when he was younger, and he's like, I grew up in Queens, New York. Right. So I knew nothing about this stuff. And I was telling him about you and your account, and we were going to have you on the show. And he said, remember when I introduced you to half and half for your coffee? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you'd die if you had fresh raw cream, you'd die.
It is just so good. I don't know if I could ever go back. I can never not have a cow now because I would. I'm trying to taper off on the sweetness factor because you don't want to load your body up with sugar right away in the morning. But
Yep.
the cream, it really helps. I mean, it just makes it such a nice texture. And if anything, try to source some raw cream. A lot of people want to just buy the cream only from me, but the problem is I use so much of it, I just don't have any to spare. I really do probably drink about almost a quart every few days. It's so good.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit. Um, so why don't you tell us, so what do you feel comfortable saying about things you sell on the farm besides milk? Do you sell anything else?
Yeah. So I sell hatching eggs. I'm not certified the NPIP. I am not that, but the folks I sell it to are, some people I know, some people that, I mean, they just want the colored eggs. It's just like a
Yeah.
normal swap and trade, this and that. I traded some hatching eggs for some sheep netting. So, bartering for hatching eggs. I have rainbow eggs, pink, green, dark brown, blue, olive. Um, and then I also I've sold a few turkeys. I raised turkeys last year, and that was one of the first things like a first for me was selling some birds. Don't have meat birds. I would like to get into that. It's just the equipment prices are just like a shock price. So I haven't got into that. I borrowed some friends' plucker to do my turkeys. That was a really fun experience. I love turkeys. They are just very loving. What else do I sell? The milk shares. Let's see. I have sold pigs before, whole pigs, whole live pigs. In North Dakota, it's illegal to sell. You can't butcher them at your house. There has to be a certified USDA meat cutting place.
Yep.
So you can sell them live, or the people that buy them can come and shoot them on your property and process them there with you. But the people that are purchasing it have to have their hand in it.
Right.
So I did that. I raised 6 feeder pigs one year. And then I had my 2 coonies that same year. Plus I had a piglet. So I had 9 pigs that year. I ended up keeping one of my gilts from the 6 feeder pigs. Her name was Kimchi. And then I kept one of my coonies because when we did have someone come here and dispatch one of the coonies, my heart broke. I'm like, oh no, because we didn't do it right away. That I felt like the other cooney was wondering where his buddy went. So then we ended up keeping him. Sunny, he's my little baby. So he's here. And then I had that piglet who really wasn't ready for anything. I ended up selling him. Someone came and brought him to the butcher right off the property here last summer. So it's whole pigs. I didn't do any this year because I would have had to get them right when Cora was just about being born, and I just didn't want to deal with piglets while I had a baby, and then my milk cow was going to have a calf, and it was just going to be too much. So
way too much going on.
Yeah, but the amount of people that asked me if I was doing whole feeder pigs this year, I mean, the list is just so long. I wish I would have done it. Now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, it wouldn't have been that hard.
Well,
yeah, I'm glad I didn't.
It wouldn't have been.
I'm glad I didn't. But the big pigs are fun to have around if you get the good, nice ones. I mean, they just will come right over. You call them, come right over. They'll roll over for you to scratch their belly. So yeah, just pigs, the turkeys, eggs, eating eggs, hatching eggs, the milk, and I think that's it.
That's awesome. Awesome. Lots going on. And Dark Lord Mina, who's in the chat, says love the pigs names, and I'm laughing because one of my favorite shows is Shameless.
Yes.
And you have animals named after characters from Shameless.
My ducks are Shameless characters.
Well, it's funny because I have a Fiona, one of my pigs is Fiona, but it had nothing to do with Shameless. It's
Oh,
just ironic that she's named that. I was telling them the story last week, and it was literally we went back and forth, and my friend says, "You should name her Fiona," and I was like, "I love that name. We're gonna name her Fiona." So
a
but
good name. Well, and then I love the name Carl. And I just been like, yeah, my duck Carl, and people would laugh. But Carl flew away and he never came back. So that was sad. So then I got ducklings the other day, and I'm going to name another one Carl because I just love that name. It's just such a cute, quirky name for a duck.
yeah, and I like Lip. Which one is named Lip?
Lip is my meat duck. Actually, I got Lip because one of my friends, it's a really small town around here. And so they all know I have animals and stuff. And I got a Snapchat one day that was like, hey, do you want a little duck? And just a few miles up the road, I was just like, okay, what's the story? And they're like, oh, the other one's drowned or something in the bathtub. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll come get it. Even though I didn't have any ducks, I swore I was never going to get ducks. All I ever heard was they're so messy and this and that.
Yeah.
Well, I went and got this duck and just fell in love right away. This was right when we were watching the show. So she's a pekin or a pekin. I don't know how you say it. She's a meat duck, really big, fatty. They're a commercial breed, just like the broad-breasted white. They're just big, fat, meaty ducks. I'm not going to eat her because I just love her. And then, ducks, they get lonely. So I had to go get a couple more. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I got Frank and Fiona. And I ended up I kept them all winter long. And I just processed Frank. He's, if you don't behave, you got to go around here.
Yep.
He's definitely not behaving. I gave him many chances. I loved him. One bad moment.
Yeah.
Then we ate him for supper. He didn't go to waste, so.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I mean, no, seriously, that's what you have to do. And I agree with you. We talk about that all the time, about, yeah, you have to behave or you go. I mean, that's it. We can't have somebody destructive.
Yep,
So,
the ducks I have, Pathways Homestead. The pekin, and then I had a black Swedish, which was Frank, and then he's gone. Then I still have a blue Swedish, Fiona. So you can't really tell when ducks are young if they're boys or girls. I have no idea. And then I just got these 3 Muscovy
oh,
ducks.
cool.
Yeah, ducklings. So
Yeah.
Carl, and then I got to pick 2. I put on my Instagram, if you guys want to go look, I put up a thing where you can enter in what 2 shameless names that you think I should name my other ducklings.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know we had khaki Campbell ducks. It was kind of like an impulse buy. I saw ducklings, I had to have them. And then my husband wanted mallards, so we bought, and I went out of my way to get a male and a female because he wanted a breeding pair. Whereas the khaki Campbells, we didn't know what sex they were. And unfortunately, something got 3 of them. And so the 2 khakis that we were left with were both drakes. So they're in freezer camp.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I'm just thinking. I forgot to say I have sheep.
That's right. Do tell about your sheep.
I've got so I started out with my mother-in-law went and picked up a horse from somewhere, and the place that she picked it up from, they had this little lamb and the little piglet. Now they came together, they were free. She dropped him. She called Randy. She's like, do you guys want a little lamb and a piglet? And Randy was like, lamb, a sheep? No, because you always hear sheep, like a sheep, not very smart. I just said, yeah, let's do it. My mentor has sheep, and he was actually here picking up rhubarb that night, and she dropped it off. So that's where I got started with the sheep. I got one little ewe lamb, really tiny. She was so bloated. She bloated and malnourished at the same time. I don't really know how that works, but got her fixed up. Ended up, searching, we have a thing, we don't have Craigslist around here, but we have a thing called Bizman. It's kind of like a Craigslist.
What's it called?
It's called Bizman.
Bizman. Okay.
So it's kind of like a Craigslist that has the categories. You can look agriculture, clothing, there's a free category. And I was just searching for sheep because I'm like, oh, she needs a friend. Well, then I
Nice.
found this little ram, which is William, my buck sheep. He was $100, so the kids and I jumped in the truck and we ran and got him. And so those have been my two sheep. They've now bred for 2 years. First year I got one lamb, a boy, Adam Lambert. And then the second year, which would have been last year, I didn't separate them in the summer. Bad idea. Because then I had lambs this January 1st when it was 30 below. I was super pregnant. I was checking
Ooh,
on her. And, lambs or sheep will have twins most of the time on their second, lambing and so on and so forth. They'll usually have doubles. So I was really
gotcha.
worried about her. I always had to keep checking on her, and I was super pregnant. It was 30 below. She ended up having twins on January 1st, and I named them Wilbur and Sherry. And then a little while later, one of our friends, they had a bottle lamb, so we went and got that for $60. I mean, you just can't beat the price, because the sheep business is just, I mean, it's nice high prices. The turnaround is quick.
Yep.
I have always wanted to have more sheep, but the price is just like, it's a shock when you go to any of the auction sales. Like, the sheep don't go for less than $200. So,
Wow.
yeah, I jumped on this little bottle lamb and I named her Barbara. And so now I have 3 ewes and 1 ram, and I keep my sheep in a sheep netting around the yard. They're actually right next to my kitchen right now. So I've been moved them 2 spots, and they're still right next to my kitchen, and they're eating down the weeds. And my buck sheep is out with the cows. He's my weaner sheep. When I wean calves, I send him in there with the calves, and he keeps them in shape, and he really holds his own against like the big cows even.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I can't believe, yeah, I can't believe you that birthing in January.
Oh,
Oh,
it was hard. Thankful to Randy, who sacrificed his garage heater. And I mean, he maneuvered, it's like a 220 outlet, or it's a different outlet, and he fixed it all up and got it to work in the garden shed. And thankful for Randy.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so, hey, Life with Linda and Chuck, and hello to everybody else coming into the chat real quick. I'm just trying to be mindful of the time because I know that you've got stuff you got to do too, and your kids are being amazing, by the way.
I think they went outside.
Oh.
They're setting traps. They're this new thing. They're gonna sell hides and stuff. So Carson spent his birthday money on some live traps, and they go and set them a few times a day, which is probably why they haven't caught anything, because they just can't leave them alone because they're just so excited.
So, Jesse at Lazy Days Ahead with Jesse and Lisa wanted to know more about your awesome chicken coop.
Oh, my coop. Yeah. So when we moved here, a big highlight of the farm was that we have, let's see, like, I think it's 12 grain bins, large grain bins, like the big tall kind that people hold grain in over the winter. Those are in my driveway in the shape of an L. They're the most beautiful things you'd ever seen. I never want to take one down. They're just so picturesque. But then there's like a smaller, older grain bin, which is like a few feet out of my front door. I mean, probably, I don't know, 20 yards. I can see it from my kitchen window. When we moved here, it was full of, like, the guy must have used it for like a chemical storage. It's got a concrete floor. It's very short. I mean, I can walk through the door. The door is probably 5.5 feet tall. It's not a really tall bin. I decided we would repurpose that for a chicken coop. I got my sister-in-law's husband, who has a spray foam business, spray foam the inside. Now, chickens like to eat spray foam, so we chose to spray foam the top, I don't know, the top between 2/3, between
Yep.
2/3 and a third, with an 1.5 inch, yep, there it is, 1.5 inch thick spray foam, all the way around, and the roof. Randy was opposed to cutting into the bin whatsoever for like a cross breeze. So my chickens, if you're thinking about doing it, like this is what I tell people. A lot of people like say, "Hey, I've got a grain bin. I really want to turn mine into a chicken coop." There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons.
Yep.
Like the cons of the metal grain bin is it gets so hot. Even with the insulation, it gets roasty in there. I don't even have a nesting box in there this summer. Some still go and lay in there. The other things that not cutting into the bin, there's no cross breeze, so you have to use for ventilation, you have to use the top hatch. Thankfully on mine I have 2 top hatches. I have one on the slanted roof and then I have one at the very top.
Oh, good.
So I have those ones open at all times. The other thing that's a con is having the hatches open when it rains or snows. You get moisture in there, which, you know, moisture and bedding and either heat or cold, it's just not, you know, the humidity levels need to be just about perfect for chickens for their respiratory. So those are some cons. The pros are that there's a concrete floor and I can shut them tight.
Yep.
Nothing can get in there. Um, I mean, I guess if an owl swooped in from the top hatch, I just don't see them doing that. I've been really lucky on nights when I do decide to leave them open, if it's just roasting hot. Like the last few nights, I have not closed them. I will strap one of my livestock guardian dogs. I will train her up. My female is off duty at night. So I will just chain her up to the door, which really can't be ripped off. I mean, maybe it could be, but not by her. So I just chain her to the front and she lays in front of the coop. She's got the ability to go in and out of the coop, which she does because she eats my chicken food. And that is what keeps my chickens safe when it's really, really, really hot. In the winter, it's really, really cold. I mean, it's -20 in there. Yeah, there's no wind, but it's just like the metal. I mean, I would probably have to insulate it another inch or two to even have any sort of warmness stay in, because the bottom half can't be spray foamed. I guess it could be, but then I'd have to cover it or
Yeah.
walls, which, you know, what's the purpose? If I'm repurposing this, let's just make it work.
Yep.
So that bottom half, like this last winter, I tried to stack bales around the outside, you know, little square junk bales, which helps. Cleaning it out is also kind of a pain. You can't really fit a wheelbarrow in there. You can't. So it's all like lots of manual labor.
Yeah. Could you put, are you able to put, and the only reason why I suggest this is you were talking about the floor, you can't spray foam it. And one of the things that we found, because we like to repurpose a lot of things and salvage it, we found these old conveyor belts. So they're sort of like the rubber mats that you have for milking
Yep.
that you clean off. And what we did was cut them in strips and put them in one of the barns. And the reason why we did was, number one, we thought, oh, we can hose them off. It's in, what it's in is our meat bird house, so it's real small. It's not a big building.
Yeah.
But just wondering if you're able to get any kind of access to something like that.
Well, I try to do like pooping boards where I use like cut open dog bags, but if you don't do it every day or if you have any sort of bedding on the top, it just becomes heavy.
Yeah.
You know, heavy. And then I thought, okay, well, how about like a tarp or something like that where it could fold up? But even then, you think you could fold it up, but no, it's heavy.
Yeah.
They poop a lot at night. So yeah,
A
it
lot.
now I'm just using almost. I started just using a grain shovel and I'll just scoop it towards the front. And then in the winter where I do the deep bedding, deep litter method, it's a lot of like pitchfork work. Like this winter, the wild birds were nesting with my chickens because it was so cold. They were just sitting on the top hatches, sitting on the roofs with my birds. I got mites, and now that was just a pain. I had to scoop everything out. You know, red mites are nothing to play around with. They're so hard to get rid of. That was a nightmare. I was pregnant and I had to scoop all that out. Poor Randy was trying to help me, but then I had the ducks who had spilled water in the same spot where it was like a mound of ice. Oh, it was really fun. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to let the waterfowl stay with the chickens this winter. I'm going to find somewhere else. I think I'm going to put them in my garden shed. Because yeah, that was tough with the ice mound and the bedding. It was so challenging.
There's one thing that I saw that somebody did, and you're right, they have to do it every day. But one of the things I'm considering doing in my coop that I saw, it was Nikki at 5 Dog Farm. I don't know if you follow her.
No, I don't.
She's in Tennessee, and one of the things that she did for her chickens is under the roost is she built a platform from the poop on, right? And then what you do is you put sand and you can scoop it out every day. Yes. And then the benefit is you're getting less bedding and you can throw it in your compost bin. So for us, I mean, because we have 17 now and we have 7 hatched. So we're going to have a lot of birds. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do just because we figured it would save on bedding.
I've seen that where people use, it's almost just like a cat litter.
Yep.
And I actually did think about that this year when I went and got some sand for my dust bath area. The guys at the local aggregates place just let me have 2 5-gallon buckets of sand for free. I just inquired, I'm like, how much is it for, let's say, a pickup box of sand? And they're like, guess. Well, I don't know. I would guess $120. $20 for a pickup box of sand. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's a great deal, but of course I have never done it, but now I know if I ever wanted to, that's a great price. And pickup box would probably fill the bottom of my coop by an inch. I don't know how much you need, but
yeah,
that'd be a great idea.
Well, and the only reason I'm considering it is we had received a pickup load of sawdust, and we were going to use it for summer bedding because shavings are expensive.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, the sawdust in the coop smelled a lot better than shavings ever did.
Really?
Even you know what I mean? Because it absorbs it. So anyway, it was just pretty cool. And then when I saw Nikki do that, I was like, with a lot of birds, I'd rather for me, I hate cleaning the coop. And it gets really heavy.
Yeah.
So like you said, it just seems like it works a lot better for me to do a little bit at a time, but I don't have kids. I don't milk a cow. You know what I mean? So it's different. Everybody has different needs. But I think it's really cool. So we're at 47 minutes, and I just wondered if you had a few minutes to answer some questions before I let you go. And I'm not rushing you, but I know
that's perfect.
I just want to be respectful. So if anybody has any questions for Moriah, please put them in the chat. I think that would be awesome. And did she fall asleep? I'm dying to know.
She is sleeping, yes.
Oh, what a good girl. Guys, you'll have to check out our account to see the beautiful pictures. So again, it's in the description box of the video for the live, and it's also, I think I pinned it at the top of the chat. So while we're waiting for folks to ask questions if they have any, Grace and Fire, which is Glenda, she said it only takes her 30 seconds to clean with that sand method, which is really awesome. I know for me, I want to be able to scoop it up, put it in the compost bin, and what I'm finding is I get way too much bedding in there. But here's the thing. It's funny. I just thought of this because I was looking at you when I was thinking about it. Remember how much easier it is to clean a coop in North Dakota in the winter. It's easier, right? Because it's frozen.
Yeah, off the roost, it just pops off like.
You get it.
Yep. And you can pick it up and it doesn't get on your hands. Oh man.
Yeah, it's funny because I go in there with a pitchfork and or a tine fork, and I go in there, and it's funny because you can get it right off the top layer when it's frozen, and it's great, Summertime, not so much.
Summertime, you got to use like a paint scraper. It seeps into the wood and everything else. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Do you guys have any questions for Moriah? Last call. I want to make sure that if you do, Moriah, do you have anything that like we haven't talked about that you feel is important to share? Or I
Um,
didn't I didn't ask you about growing food. I will say that. I didn't ask you about that.
um, yeah, I mean, I was just talking to one of the girls I follow on Instagram, May Bloom's Acres. Great account. If you don't follow her, you
Love
need to
her.
follow her. She is just so pure and her content is just so real. We were just talking about when you grow stuff, we want to try to start eating seasonally. Like, you know, lettuce in the summer, cabbage in the winter.
Yep.
You know, eat seasonally as much as you can. And it's hard. I mean,
Yep.
this is where the GMOs come into play. You know, the apple trees. I was just reading something about GMOs and like genetically modified apples. They will last so much longer on your counter, and that's where those things have actually benefited us.
Wow.
Um, that they'll last on the counter way longer than apples used to last back in the day. Um, you know, and that will help us. You know, when time's ending, I'm, you know, when stuff hits the fan, you know, that will be
Yeah.
nice, and our food preserves that much better with those genetically modified fruits and stuff, vegetables. Um, but yeah, just
Absolutely.
try to eat seasonally, you know, grow things that you're going to eat through the winter. Like this year, I really cut my garden. I only planted about half of my garden. The rest is just a thistle valley, a thistle city. I'm growing like the staples, the stuff that I know for sure we eat, you know, things that aren't going to bring bugs to my garden, the brassicas, the cabbage families. I despise the bugs that come, those cabbage butterflies. I just can't get myself to grow them after a few
Yep.
years I've tried, and I don't want to spray the stuff on the dust. I just won't do it. I never got into the net bags. So this year I just really did potatoes, lots of onions, lots of carrots, stuff, cucumbers and peppers and tomatoes for spaghetti sauce, salsa, things that I know we eat a lot during the winter. Um, Growing your own food as far as meat goes, you know, go to the butcher and find a farmer that, you know, you can go get half of a beef with.
Yep.
Don't go to the store. I mean, they just pump the store meat with a bunch of water, and they really make it go far for it's just not as good if you can find a farmer. Um,
Yeah.
Find a farmer, get some good meat, you know, maybe raise a couple chickens, grow a tomato plant. You know, even in Southern California, you can have 3 or 4 chickens. That is amazing.
Yep.
If you live in a big city, you can still possibly have your own eggs to eat, you know, cut that, cut the need for those poor commercial hens that are sitting in a cage, you know, or standing there, can't move around, you know, those egg machine egg makers that they, you know, forced to not have the best life. Happy
Yeah.
chickens lay healthy eggs, you know, healthier food grown from people you know, tended to with, you know, caring hands. And yeah, you just got to source out some good stuff. And, you know, the price, that's the thing though. And then with the prices going up everywhere, it's not cheap. It's not cheap to grow your own tomatoes. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's not cheap. It's a lot of work. Um, but it's worth it. The taste is
Yeah.
so much better. But
I agree, and I hear your passion, and I love it. I love it. And I did put Vanessa from May Bloom's Acreage, her link for Insta in there because I adore her. I
yes.
adore her, and her stance on roosters and just the ethical stance and just all of that she has. I couldn't say enough about her either.
Yep.
Um, the Vineyard Chicks want to know if you do anything special for your ducks in the winter.
I am a big stickler about clean water. So
Yep.
you just this winter now I know better. I'm going to keep them separate from my chickens. Not that they didn't cohab, you know, they lived fine together. There was no problems with them living together. Even my geese and my turkey all in there. Everyone lived fine together. It's just the water mess. No, next
Yeah.
year or this coming winter, I want to have a separate spot for them that they can make all the mess that they want. I don't have to worry about it because in my climate, the freezing, I mean, even a little bit of splash a couple times a day, just, I mean, it really just grows. The iceberg grows on the side of the walls, on the floor.
Yeah.
So this year, what I'm just gonna try something different. I just gotta try something different until it works for me. I didn't do anything special for them. I just feed an all flock in the winter.
Yep.
So the ducks, the geese, the turkeys, the roosters, everybody can eat the same thing. Of course, having an extra bin for grit and oyster shells for the laying hens, even though they don't lay in the winter. But yeah, so just an all flock, and everyone got along. I mean, once you take them from free ranging every day to pen them up, there's some fighting, but they got along. After the long winter, everybody was pretty used to each other.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you, but I think you just answered it. So, do you change your feed in the winter to accommodate for the colder months?
Well, I try not to, only because I've had a few hens get fatty liver over lots of corn. A lot of my bigger hens, the bossier hens who are always first and last to the feed bin, they're just eating way too much corn. There was a lot. I actually just had to put one of my big black chocolate layers down because she had a big mass under her abdomen there. I didn't put that on my Instagram because I really wasn't sure what was going on at first. But yeah, after I did dispatch her, after about 2 hours of deciding, I opened her up and she was just, her insides were just fully encased in just bright yellow fat. And that's from lots of scratch grains, lots of extra corn, which people say, oh, corn, feed them a ton of corn. That'll keep them hot from the inside out. And yeah, it does to an extent. But really, I think you should just, I just kept trying to focus more on like the deep litter, the warm bedding, the outdoor run that's completely void of any sort of wind or anything like that. And then just stick with the all flock. And then, treats here and there, mealworms and stuff. But man, that high corn, the scratch grains, it really, you'd be surprised. Like it can take some of these hens pretty quickly. They're just fatties. Some of them just,
Corn is like junk food for chickens.
yeah.
For animals in general. Because I had
Yeah.
a friend in British Columbia in Canada who I was having issues with my chickens, and she had told me, because she gets a lot of cold weather up there, and she said, I can't even get 16% feed up here. She's like, you got to feed them higher protein in the winter, and it fixed the issue. But I'm talking feeding feed.
Yeah.
All nutrition feed versus just corn, because usually I give like mealworms. I might give some scratch, but it's rare because I won't feed it in the summer, and that kind of thing. So that's why I asked that question, and they did really well. And then I bring them back to the normal percentage when it gets warmer out, because metabolism wise, they don't need it.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, last call for questions, because I want to let her go, because she's got a baby going on and she's got kids outside probably having a blast because mom's inside. And she's been so gracious to stay with us. So real quick, otherwise I'm going to let Moriah go. But in the meanwhile, Moriah, I just want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. We've really enjoyed having you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was fun.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate you juggling everything. I don't see any questions. So I just want to tell the chat guys, I'm going to be on for a minute because I want to talk about a few things. But thank you so much for coming tonight.
Okay. We'll see you guys later. It was fun.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for welcoming Moriah in. I appreciate it. Just a couple things. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it, Joe. Joe, I hope you're feeling better. So just a couple program notes, so to speak. We were going to have a live on Tuesday for the first Homesteading Academy, but we've had to move it to Thursday. So Thursday night, I will be putting up a live, and it's going to be after Bland's Promised Land Ranch, um, because it was the only time that I could get Brian from Castle Hives to come on and do Beekeeping 101. So just wanted to give you a heads up for that. I'm trying to think of a couple other things. There was something else I wanted to tell you guys. Are you still liking the Friday night lives with the guests? I'm just curious because I've been bringing on guests from Instagram, and I've been having fun with it, getting to love getting to love everyone and know everyone, right? But I just want to know what you guys think about it. Awesome, awesome. Oh, it's funny. I have a beehive. Excuse me. Hold on. I have a beehive. Thank you guys for saying yes. I appreciate it. We have a beehive that Sandy from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona gave us. And I have it in the back. And Sandy was telling me all about catching swarms, and she caught all these swarms. So I bought Swarm Commander, I bought lemongrass oil, and 2 weeks now I've put the stuff on there a very little bit. I know Gwen will tell me less is what you need. I followed the instructions, so I haven't overdone it. I got nothing. But I think it's funny. But oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So yeah, so we'll keep doing these. Depending on the scheduling for the Homesteading Academy, we will I may have a guest on Friday night to do a Homesteading Academy. But I think I'm going to try to scale these down to an hour and a half or less, unless we're doing something different, just because I think you guys have a lot going on. It's summertime. I know I do. Oh, I love you guys too. You guys are awesome. But yeah, just I think it's cool to bring on different homesteaders, see how they do things. Everybody has different values and stuff like that, which I think is really neat. Um, and I think that's the kind of cool stuff. And I'm trying to think. There was one other thing I wanted to let you guys know, and I'm drawing a complete blank on it. Oh, yes, diversity on channels and social media is really good. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Oh, good. I'm glad, Dark Lord Meaning that's awesome. Yeah, Timid Ridge Life, he catches swarms all the time. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. But then again, that speaks to the pollinator issue we have here. I've not seen any. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Um, but the seven chicks, I just wanted to let you know the seven chicks are doing well. The barnyard mixes, they're in the brooder behind me. They're doing really well. And tomorrow, the rest of the meat birds will be processed. We had a bit of an issue. Hey, Marlene, we had a bit of an issue that we've never come across before. And I'm not going to be gory, but one of the roosters, who is quite large and not able to mate the normal way because he's too fat, must have caught the hen on the head and drew blood, and apparently they all attacked her. So we will be processing the rest of them tomorrow, so that way we are done with that. So the turkeys will be by themselves. The pheasants are getting larger. And then we'll be on Piglet Watch. So July 25th and August 7th, Eleanor will be first. We're super excited about that. So if watch for our community page, because if the piglets are born, I've never done this before. We may not be posting videos, but we'll try to post some kind of, even if it's raw, unedited footage, we'll try to do something so you guys can see them. And also, we always post on our Instagram or our Facebook stories a lot, but we'll try to keep everybody updated. But, well, guys, anything else going on? Yes, Ariella, the rooster is a meat rooster. It's not Dwight. So they were all headed for freezer camp, but because he was so large, um, yeah, yeah, he's going. We just tried to get through the week because Ryan was working and we didn't want to process them. So we've already taken the feed out tonight, and we will be processing them this weekend. Yes, excuse me, Jackie and Frank. So I think Bland's ends at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard, which is 10 p.m. Central. So we would be doing that at 10 p.m. Central. Now, I don't expect you guys to come to the live if you don't want to be. I'm just being real. I had an opportunity to do it with Brian, and we're going to do it live, but the replay is going to be there. Again, it's going to be very different from the lives we're all used to. It's just going to be an education thing. So watch it when you're, ready, that kind of thing. But yes. And then let me see here. I just want to go back. Hey, Wind and Wheat Life. You're just milking your goats over there, huh? Wow. Yeah. We're gonna have a lot of chickens soon. A lot more than we expected. But and the two new girls are doing well. I wanted to tell you that too. The two new girls are doing really well. so that's really good. Ooh, canning pickles tomorrow. Nice. Cleaning the coop and quail cages. Well, that's not great, but it's necessary and it's always nice when it's done, right? Enjoy the pickles. That'll be great. Hey, Leanne, how are you? Welcome in Mennonite Farmhouse. Welcome in. So that's some of the changes that we have going on, and we will be looking for some guests on for Friday night. Oh, no worries, Leanne. No worries. We just let Moriah go because she has a bunch of children and needed to tend to their well-being. So she was able to stay with us for a short amount of time, and it was awesome. So we were just talking about some programmatic changes, just, talking about how the Homesteading Academy and folks are liking the Friday Night Lives and everything. So yeah, so if you see us go live on a weird time during the week, don't freak out about it. It's just the Homesteading Academy because it was easy to schedule it. So, well, guys, I'm going to go to bed early tonight because we're getting up early tomorrow to process chickens before the heat comes. And while I was on this live, Ryan was securing a marketplace find for me so that I have a grow out coop for the little ones. So that'll help us out a lot too. So, but I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you so much for everything. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. You guys stay safe and stay cool. And make sure you're staying hydrated for you guys in the hot weather. And Carla, I saw something earlier. One of the things I do is give frozen vegetables, peas and carrots, the cheap peas and carrots from the store. All right, y'all, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Take good care. Bye-bye. Thanks, moderators.